So today we're going to talk about clear aligner design, which gets me all excited. I love clear aligners. I think it can be so profitable and easy to implement now with so many turnkey solutions. So first, I'm going to start with today's hosts. My name is Michelle Shippy. I've been with FullContour for going on 7 years. I manage the whole ortho department. I also do customer development. So I've got my hands in a lot of different cookie jars. And my partner in crime is Tarik. Tarik, why don't you give a little background on yourself?
Thank you, Michelle. So my name is Tarik. I'm the Senior Business Development Manager, and I'm heading the EU team of design services for all different ranges. And Michelle will go a bit deeper in the PowerPoint on what else we can offer than clear aligners. But I've been with 3Shape for, a little bit over 7 years, had multiple roles, and now last 2 years have been heading the EU team. And with me here, I have part of my team as well, Maria Sharikova, who is our Spanish-speaking, and our French-speaking Veronica Diakova that can also go in and help with your local language. The way that we have set up our European team is we have the multiple languages. So we have everything from Spanish, Italian, French, German now. So it's really exciting that we can help in different countries. So whatever you guys need, you can always reach out to me and to my team.
Awesome, Tarik, thanks. So now let's jump into why we're here today, which is clear aligners. So the first thing I want to go over is why offer clear aligners, right? And I think there's been a lot of buzz over the last 3 to 4 years of everybody's getting into clear aligners, and you as a lab might be going like, okay, I keep hearing about it, but why should I offer it in my laboratory? Well, one, there's a growing need. There's so many doctors out there that are looking for a clear aligner solution, and they know and trust you, and you can be that great solution for them. So why not offer a new indication that creates a new revenue stream? You don't have to go find all these new clients and do all this, fancy marketing. You already have doctors that trust you. They know you. They've been working with you for years. And they're probably already doing clear aligners to some extent. And so you can go to your current clientele and say, hey guys, we're now offering clear aligners, and it's a way for you to generate a new revenue stream in 2022. It can be very profitable, and that's why so many people are interested in clear aligners. So typically profits range from $200 to $400 per case. Of course, that ranges on how large the case is or complex the case is. You can make more money on a larger case compared to a smaller case. But yeah, it's definitely something that is really profitable and a turnkey solution. So you don't have to go buy any new equipment. You don't have to hire any new technicians in your laboratory. You can plug in with FullContour and one of our integrated manufacturing partners and start offering clear aligners tomorrow. So it's very, very easy to start offering this new product. So what is the workflow? So I want to explain start to finish, make it super simple, because I think people make it very convoluted or complex, and it doesn't need to be. It can be a very simple thing to launch and offer. So first is just gathering case information, right? You got to start a case somewhere. So we're going to need scans of the patient, both arches, even if we're only treating one arch. You're going to need a prescription form. We can provide you with a generic prescription form that you can give to your doctors to have them fill out. So that gives us direction on how to treat this patient. So for example, say the patient has a diastema between the centrals. Some people like that and they don't want to close that gap. But when you send a case for clear aligners, our job is to make the smile ideal. So then we would close that space. So the RX is a way for the doctor to tell us to leave that space open or to close the space. Or maybe the doctor is going to do veneers afterwards. And so they want to level the teeth by the gingival margin and not the incisal edges. So this is a way for them to communicate, how they want this case or how they envision this case going. And then patient photos. Those are really important because we can get to see if the midline is correct or the overbite overjet, the patient's side profile. So those are the basic things that we need to start a case. It's going to be the scans, the prescription form, and the photos. So then next, you would submit that to us. So we have a FullContour portal. You would just simply drag and drop that file and fill out a few more details like the patient name. And then we would give you a full treatment plan within 72 hours. So then next, you're going to generate a URL to that case. You can generate, it's a unique URL with a password. You email that to the treating doctor. What's really cool about this URL is it's white labeled. So it has your lab's logo in the top left corner. The URL itself is generic. It doesn't say FullContour anywhere on that. So you can really present it as your product, not, that you're working with outsourced partners on the clear aligners. So using that URL, the doctor can view the 3D viewer, the movement chart, get a full understanding of their treatment plan, and then they can either approve it or they can send it back for a modification. So that's going to be the next step, is the redesign. With clear aligners, it's very normal for a doctor to send it back and ask for changes. We see it about 50% of the time. That doesn't mean something was wrong. It just means that they're the treating doctor and they might want to make some tweaks to that treatment plan. So they can send it back for those modifications. We would return the new design within 24 to 48 hours. And then once the doctor is happy, they can click approve and manufacture. When they click approve and manufacture, depending on who the manufacturer is going to be, we provide all of the manufacturing files. So for example, if you're going to produce these in your laboratory, we would provide to you all of the print ready STL files that are ID tagged with your preferences for your printer. Now, if you're going to go with like a third party manufacturer, maybe one of our integrated manufacturing partners, we would provide things such as the print ready STL files, the trim line files for their milling machine to make that nice trim line on the plastic, maybe a laser marking file to laser ID tag the aligner. So depending on your automation in your lab or your third-party manufacturer, we can provide several different files for manufacturing. So that's basically the clear aligner workflow. You take the case, you submit it, you go through this like review and approval process. Once the doctor approves it, you do the manufacturing, and then you deliver the aligners to the doctor. So let's go through what types of cases FullContour can take on. So we pride ourselves on doing really great treatment plans for mild to moderate aesthetic cases. So we are not looking to take on those bilateral crossbite cases that take 50 aligners per arch to treat the patient. That is not our wheelhouse. And also, if you're just getting into clear aligners, you don't want that to be your wheelhouse either. It's very complex to move teeth. And so we're looking for the ones that are minor or mild movements. So things like a midline shift of less than 2 millimeters, or closing space that's less than 2 millimeters, crowding, mild deep bites, mild open bites, some anterior cross bites, maybe a posterior cross bite that's on just one side of the arch. And cross bites can be borderline, right? Because if it's in full cross bite, we might not be able to do a full correction, because with our treatment planning, we can't utilize elastics. So then that would, kind of rely on the doctor's expectations and understanding of how to do elastics themselves and do cutouts in the plastic. So what we say is, where you can be profitable are those cases that are like 12 to 20 trays. Those usually go really, really well. Doctor has great success, patient is happy, and you can be really profitable, and the cases can be predictable. So what I want to go through is case selection. So what is treatable with our treatment planning? Well, a lot of cases, as I mentioned, spacing, crowding, changing of the midlines, deep bites or open bites, basic alignment prior to restorative work. So clear aligners don't just have to be for straightening the teeth. It can be for opening up a space for an implant, or aligning the teeth enough for beautiful veneer placement. So you can get really creative with how you pitch and sell your clear aligner treatment to your doctors. Things like maybe you're going to do an extraction and you want to close the space. So these are all things that we can treat. What's not treatable is a large midline shift. So like if you've got a Tom Cruise smile, we're probably not going to be able to move the midline that much. Severe deep bite, severe skeletal open bite, severe crowding, maybe the arch form is collapsed and too narrow and you're going to need an expansion device, a class 3 bite, underbites, or a full posterior crossbite or bilateral crossbite. These are all things that we cannot treat today. And I would also recommend that even if we could treat them, if you're a laboratory just getting into clear aligners, those aren't the types of cases that you want to jump in with, because if something goes wrong, you have to have an expert to kind of redirect the case and give advice as to how to fix the case. So stick with the mild to moderate. It's probably going to be 70% of what your GPs are seeing anyways. So there's a huge pool of cases that you can still take on without taking on the full comprehensive cases. So again, it just kind of goes through case selection, right? Mild to moderate, prep for veneers or implants or dental restorations. There are the more direct to consumer style offerings. So maybe no IPR, no attachments. We can do those things and we do them often. But if the patient didn't want IPR and attachments, we can talk about how we can treat the case without them. With our anterior cases, we are moving 5 to 5. So that's second bicuspid to second bicuspid. We are not moving molars with the anterior cases. So that's just going to be for a generally straighter smile. And then it can also be for refinement or relapse cases. So maybe the patient had braces as a teenager, didn't wear their retainers, and they just need to kind of fix a few teeth. The anterior case selection would be ideal for them. We do offer a full arch case selection. This is something that we launched earlier in 2021. So treatable cases are going to be very similar. We're just moving all of the teeth in the mouth, so 7 to 7 instead of 5 to 5. So, but here we can improve, like we can do a class 1 correction, a mild class 2 correction. These are going to be better for extraction cases where you're closing a larger space. No matter what, it is better to do a 7 to 7 case. You're going to get a better outcome. And also what we find with anterior cases is sometimes you can create posterior open bites when you're not moving the molars, because you're putting pressure on all the anterior teeth and the plastic is pushing on those teeth, but then it's not pushing on the posterior, and it can create some issues. So you're going to get much better outcomes when you do full arch every single time. However, anterior only is also very popular. So both are good options. I just recommend that you're always going to get a better outcome when you're moving all the teeth in the mouth. So again, what's not treatable, those crossbite cases or a class 3 bite, we're not changing bites. We're not, if they've got like a severe deep bite or an underbite, things that maybe need surgical attention, we're not treating any of those. And same thing for case selection, you know, maybe, again, prep for dental work, molar uprighting. For lower arches, you can't expand the arch so much because of how the bones are situated, but you can upright the molars and create a more beautiful smile. So these are the types of cases that we're looking for full arch. So let's jump into the movement philosophy. So we often get asked like, well, how do I know that your treatment plans are going to be predictable? Or how do I know that you guys actually know what you're doing? Which are all valid questions, right? So when FullContour decided to get into clear aligners, we worked with key opinion leaders all across the globe. And we talked with people who had a lot of experience in orthodontics. And we said, what is the velocity at which we should move teeth? How quickly should we move them? How long should they wear the trays? Because there's limits, right? If you move a tooth too fast, you can die and fall out. We certainly don't want to do that. Or if you move too slow, then they're going to need way more trays and the treatment's going to take too long and patient compliance goes down. So there has to be a happy medium. So this is what we've come up with for anterior movements. So this is for the entire case. So we can rotate a tooth 40 degrees. For inclination and angulation, we do up to 14 degrees. Extrusion, 2.5 millimeters, intrusion, 2.5 millimeters, and then left to right, maximum 2.5 millimeters. What this means is if you have a tooth that needs 60 degrees of rotation, we are only going to rotate it up to 40 degrees because we know that that can be predictable in one treatment plan. We do offer one free refinement for every case. So what that means is let the tooth rotate the 40 degrees, do a new scan, get a free refinement design, and do the remaining 20 degrees of rotation. What we don't want to do is do all 60 degrees of rotation in one swoop because it's likely not going to happen, especially if it's like a canine or a bicuspid. Those are really difficult to rotate. And so you'll likely need to do it in incremental steps to get to the final outcome. So these movements are tried and true, they're predictable, and they're likely going to happen in the patient's mouth if they're being compliant and you're using a good plastic to move the teeth. For posterior teeth, molars are stubborn suckers. And so those, you have to reduce the amount of movements that you do on them. So if you notice, all the movements are reduced because they're just more difficult to move. So when we're doing a full arch case, the anterior teeth are gonna have more movement than the posterior teeth. And then movement velocity. So how much you move per tray. So our trays are meant to be worn for 2 weeks at a time. But depending on the patient, wear time can be increased or decreased with guidance by the treating doctor. So for example, if you have a teenager, their teeth are going to move much faster than somebody who's in their 50s or 60s. Also, things like medication can play a role in how fast the teeth move or their dental status. So what we recommend is do it for 2 weeks. If the trays are still really tight at the end of the 2 weeks, wear it for another week before switching trays. Or if you go to switch trays and the next tray isn't seating all the way and isn't quite right, backtrack and wear the tray for another week. There's no, you have to change it at 2 weeks. It can be flexible. But what we do, our movement velocity is the standard orthodontic care. This is what almost every clear aligner company out there is doing. They're moving at a velocity of 0.25 millimeters per tray, 2 degrees of rotation. So people often ask me like, well, I want to have this case done in 10 trays. Well, we're going to backtrack a little bit and look at, for example, the rotation. If you have 40 degrees of rotation needed on a tooth, and we rotate 2 degrees per tray, you do the math, that's 20 trays. We can't do it faster than that. So it really is just math and how many trays you need on a case. And what's nice is the shape software that we use for the design does that for us. So it's not a technician guessing how many trays you need. It's all generated automatically based on the movement planned on your case. All right, so what you give and what you get for clear aligners. So you give the scans, you give an RX, you give photos, and then at the end of the treatment, we're going to give you a beautiful 3D viewer, a tooth movement report that allows you to see how much movement is happening throughout the entire case. If you're a clear aligner or an ortho lab, we do provide you the 3FZ file, which is the ortho analyzer file. So you could actually import our design into your 3Shape and make changes to it if you wanted to. We provide all of the manufacturing files from STL files for printing models, the trim line files for cutting those plastic and having that nice trim line, laser marking files, anything you need for automation, and then a PDF of the treatment plan so you can print and deliver that to the doctor when you deliver the aligner trays. So the workflow is you gather everything, you put it into, and by everything I should specify, gathering everything is the scans, the photos, and the RX. I get a little ahead of myself. You're gonna put all those into a zip file, drag and drop it onto the FullContour platform. Give us some information like the patient name, where you want the case going once it's been approved. And then once you submit it, 72 hours later, we're going to give you the 3D viewer and the movement report. And that's where you'll generate a URL to deliver that to the doctor so that they can review and approve the treatment plan. So with that, I'm going to get into some really exciting things that are coming. So we have been working really, really hard since the beginning of Q2 and taking feedback from all of our partners over the last 3 years to really rebuild our doctor interface. And that's the URL that you deliver to your doctor who's treating the patient. So we took our current offering, our 3D viewer, and we scrapped it all and we rebuilt everything from the ground up. So I'm going to give you a little preview of what's coming next week. We're really, really excited about this. So this is launching next week. So this is our new 3D viewer and movement report. So the new 3D viewer has a lot of tools. It's a more lifelike coloring. It's much easier to interact with. In fact, it's really interesting when you're moving the models around, you could literally just click and spin it around. It's very easy to interact with. It loads much quicker and there's more tools available. So I'm gonna kind of dive into the actual details here of all the tools that are available. So right here you have the background color. So you can do white or black, just customer preference. We get asked for these things. You can turn attachments on and off. So what we've heard is people like to go to the after view and turn the attachments off so you can show the patient, here's what your smile is going to look like at the end of treatment. So just kind of giving the preview there. We have the grid view. So grid view is enables you to see if the teeth are level. So you would just zoom in, turn on the grid view, and then you can see that. And then you have the ability to hide an arch. So if you want to just see upper arch or just lower arch, you can turn those on and off. And then this is just moving the 3D model around. So you can kind of just get a good view. There's some presets. So if you can want to see left, right, occlusal view for upper or lower, or the middle button just kind of resets to the middle of the screen. What I'm showing here is that you can zoom in as close as you want to that model and get a really up close, beautiful view of those shiny teeth. So, and then you have the before and the after buttons. So that allows you to show the initial position, click play, and show all the incremental movements that'll happen throughout the treatment. Or you can jump just simply from before to after and get a quick view of how the treatment starts and how it ends. And you can use those buttons in any view. All right, so now we're going to move on to treatment history. So one of the things that we heard from our partners is that a doctor might check the treatment plan and send it back for a modification. And then a week goes by and they go to check the treatment plan after the redesign, but then they forgot what they asked for the first time. And that's very valid. I don't remember what I ate for breakfast. So what we did is we implemented the treatment history. So on the left-hand side of the 3D viewer, you can see all of your redesigns. And so I can click on V0, version 0, which is your initial treatment plan. And I can see any designer notes the designer put with the case. And then I can see what redesign request I put on that case. Why did I ask for a change? Then I can click on version 1, which is your first redesign, and view the 3D viewer, the movement report, and I can see designer notes and redesign requests. So you can do that for the whole history of the case. So if you ask for 5 redesigns, you're going to be able to see that whole history, which is really helpful when you're looking at a holistic view of the treatment for that patient. And then we have the treatment summary. This is the PDF. Currently, we have what's called the SMILE summary. This is our new SMILE summary. So this can be downloaded, printed, and saved with every single case. So this is going to show you up at the top the patient name, the order number, how many trays for upper and lower. OC trays are overcorrection trays. Some doctors like to use those on treatment plans. So that would show if the case had any overcorrection trays. And then the total movement overview. This is going to show every tooth in the arch, and then how much movement is going to happen on each of those teeth for the entire treatment. And then you can see down at the very bottom, we have a legend that explains kind of what are the symbols that you're seeing on top of those tooth numbers. So a circle is going to mean that an attachment is needed on that tooth. A red line is going to indicate IPR, and I think I'm going to show that on the next screen. So it'll show where to perform IPR, how much IPR to perform, and at what stage to perform the IPR. So you can know if it's initial IPR before the patient starts treatment or delayed IPR in the middle of the treatment. And then an X means that those teeth are missing in the mouth, just to make it clear that those teeth don't exist. All right, so this is just a quick video. So it's just showing the attachments on the teeth. Down at the bottom, I wanted to highlight how we indicate attachments. So here you would see if there's attachments placed later in the treatment. So you can see, okay, you know, stage 0, I'm going to place attachments on these 5 teeth. Stage 5, I'm going to place an attachment on this tooth. So it just makes it really, really clear when and where to place attachments. And then again, with the IPR, this shows at what stage to perform the IPR and how much IPR to perform. So this is just kind of an overview of the PDF that can be printed and downloaded with every case. And then this is the doctor approval URL that I keep mentioning. So when you generate a URL for a case, your lab logo is in the top left corner, not the FullContour logo. It gives the case number, the patient name, the treatment history is on the left-hand side where they can see all the versions, 3D viewer on the right-hand side, and then the movement report is down below. So I'm going to play a quick video here of me just interacting with the doctor approval app. So you can drop that down. You can click and view a previous version. So when I click on that, it shows the redesign reason, and it loads the 3D viewer and the movement chart for that version. So I'll let that load here. And then same thing, you have all the tools available. So you can change background color. You can turn on and off attachments. You can do the grid view, all of those things. And then down on bottom, you have the total movements overview. So, or you can do movements per stage. So if you notice, as I'm clicking through the movements per stage, the 3D viewer up above is moving to that stage. And then vice versa, when you click play and it plays through the stages, the movement chart down below is going to show you the movements for those stages at the same time that the 3D viewer is moving. And one of the things I'm going to actually, I don't know if I can pause this video while we're live here. I can. One of the things I wanted to point out is that you cannot approve or redesign a previous version. That's something that we want to develop in the future. It's very complex to do that. So if you'll notice in the video in a little bit, down at the bottom where you approve and manufacture a case, it's going to say you can only approve the most recent version. So you actually have to be clicked on the most recent version and then approve that version. If you want a previous version approved, you have to put it into redesign and just say, like, I want to approve the previous version, and we'll get that uploaded for you to approve. So then there's like the QC images. This is going to be like patient photos or screenshots from our design. This is where you can see that you can approve the most recent version. So I had to go back and click on version 1, which is the most recent version. and then I can approve the case. So this is where the doctor would type in their name and click approve and manufacture, or if they want to change, they can click the redesign button and just tell us what changes they want made to the treatment plan. So this is the doctor approval app. So as a laboratory, I submit the case, I get the treatment plan done, and I deliver this URL to the doctor. It has my lab logo in there. It doesn't say FullContour anywhere on it. It's totally white labeled so that your doctor doesn't even know FullContour exists. So this can be a product that your lab offers, and we're just kind of in the background. So that's how a lot of labs utilize our service. So just a quick overview of our FullContour clear aligner solution. We have a full range of treatment planning. We have a fast turnaround time at 72 hours or less. We have that URL that you can generate on all cases. We're scalable with you. As I mentioned, it's a turnkey solution. You can have FullContour do the design, and then one of our integrated manufacturing partners do the manufacturing and the shipping to you. And so you can literally start offering clear aligners tomorrow if you wanted to. We have a really sophisticated platform that handles API integrations, sending cases to manufacturers, or integrations with your dental system and communicate. We can deliver all the manufacturing files for automation, so things like trim lines, laser marking files, print-ready STL files, and then we have world-class support in Europe and in the US with multiple different languages to support you. And then real quick, for some of our enterprise users who might be on the call, we do have an API that's available to plug into. So that would allow you to submit cases for design, get status updates, release cases from hold, get those URLs for both patients and doctors, and retrieve the manufacturing files all through an automated system so that there is no manual humans having to sit there and like upload cases or generate links. That can be all automated through our public facing API. And then just some details on the aligner manufacturing files. We can give you the trim lines that we talked about. This is really popular. Some people like the fully scalloped trim line. Some people like the straight cut trim line. One thing I will note is our fully scalloped, we call it maximum wave, cannot get into the gingival interproximals due to patents that are out there. So our trim line is like a rolling trim line. So it'll be rolled over the gingival margin, which would be the #1 trim line right here. So those are the different trim style options that we offer. And then we do offer retainers as well. So this is a very big growing need in the clear aligner space, that doctors at the end of treatment or patients at the end of treatment need retainers, every 3 to 6 months. And so if you need just retainers, that's something that we can offer. We can either give you just an STL where you can print the model and just do a thermoforming retainer, or we can deliver the retainer plus the trim lines for an automated retainer solution. And then this is just a brief overview of our clear aligner price. So as I mentioned, you get the platform, the URLs, the white label solution, the API, the trim lines, the manufacturing files, the customer support, all of that for $99 for an anterior case, or $129 for a full arch case. And then we do offer volume discounts. So if you're doing more than 10 cases per month, maybe you're doing 20, 40, 50, 60, 100, whatever, the European business development team would love to talk to you, and we can talk about creating some custom pricing tiers for you. And then we want to be there to support you through your onboarding journey. So first, we would have a call to assess your needs. What are you looking for? What type of manufacturing solution do you have? How many cases do you want to submit? How quickly is the turnaround time? All of those things. And then we go through a pilot test where let's do a couple free cases for you so you can test the workflow, make sure that all the settings are dialed in, that you're getting everything that you need, define your manufacturing strategy, and then we can really scale up our capacity and deliver to you however many cases you need per month to be successful with your clear aligner offering. So with that, let's get out there and change dentistry together. I do want to open it up for Q&A just so that we have time to answer any questions that you might have. So I'm going to stop sharing here and let's answer some questions.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Thank you for a great webinar. I can see we already have a first question. Can you guys provide me with a link to API documentation? I missed a bit of the presentation talking on a call.
Yes, absolutely. We have API documentation as well as documentation on what the workflow should be, so you can kind of put those together. And then we do have a manager here in Phoenix who handles all API integrations, who can handle any complex questions that you might have, or even testing the API in our sandbox environment.
Yes, and guys, please come with more questions. We can see there's more here.
Yeah.
We have been using this for a while and love it. The only issue we run into is that doctors want to an ETA on the aligners.
Sure, and that's what the customer support team is there for. Is do you want to say, hey, when is my case going to be ready? Or for example, we don't offer like a premium rush option for clear aligners because it can be very difficult to do the whole process for a clear aligner in less than 24 hours. But if you had a case that was really important, you can contact our customer support and say, hey, I really need this case rush, and they can kind of prioritize that case with our design team and get it done quickly for you guys. So our support is available via live chat. So if you're already on our platform, you can just chat us and say, hey, when is my case going to be ready? You can email, you can call, whatever you guys need. We're here to support you.
And
Oh, I
guys,
just saw Dr. Bruce is in the house.
yeah.
Hi, Dr. Bruce, we love you.
And other thing, guys, if you want to start with this, as Michelle said, like we are here to support your journey. Feel free to send out an email to support@fullcontour.com, and it will go directly to the team from the country that you are writing from. So you don't need to have like a specific email, just write to our generic email and it will go. If it's from Europe, it will go to Maria and Veronica, and they're here to help you in your time zone as well.
And the last thing I think I want to mention is ortho can be a whole new world to a crown and bridge lab. And it can be a little bit overwhelming when you're thinking about offering a new product, supporting your doctors, and just getting a basic understanding of what are commonly asked questions and what problems am I going to face. And FullContour is here to be your partner. So we're more than happy to arrange a training with you and your laboratory or your technicians or your team that's going to be supporting it and go through the basics of ortho and what questions you're going to get asked and what's the workflow. And we're here to really hold your hand through the whole thing and give advice whenever we can. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to be your partner. It's as if we're in the lab with you and we're on your team.
So there's a couple more questions. Is it available directly to the dentist?
If a dentist has an in-house laboratory, of course they can offer order our product because they're producing just like a laboratory would. But if a doctor just wants to order a clear aligner, we don't do any manufacturing, so we wouldn't be able to help them in that situation. We certainly do have doctors that call, and we typically find out information like what state are they in, if we're in the US, and we look at what laboratories work with us for clear aligners in that area. And then we would say, hey, here's some of the guys that we work with. You can reach out to them.
Exactly. What data do we need to send to provide us with the print ready files?
So we would have a meeting to go over, do you want solid models, hollow models? Do you want ID tags on the models? Do you want the tray number on the first molar? What are some of the other things that we have to go over? If you have a mill and you're doing trim lines, we would need to know what fixture to place on the model, right? So how tall do you want the model to be? All of those things. So we have an entire preference profile on your account where we go through and we set up all those things. So then when our team is designing one of your cases, they know exactly what preferences to use for your lab and your machines.
So
do labs on the US need to be registered with the FDA to produce and sell clear aligners? Yes, the answer is yes. We do have, for example, in the US, we work with Argon Manufacturing. They work only with dental laboratories. And so they allow dental labs to start selling clear aligners through them using their 510K. They have white labels available, or you can just order the Argon clear aligner. So I would say if you want a turnkey solution in the US without your 510K, talk to Argon. They can get you set up right away. Any other questions? You guys have been so fun and so many great questions. I love talking clear aligners. I think you can tell I get excited about it.
So true. And again, if there's nothing you can think of right now, does the same apply with surgical guides?
I don't know with surgical guides. I would assume that you would need, because they're a medical device, right? So I would assume, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm in my clear aligner world.
Yeah, we can again, you feel free to reach out to us on email and we can take this Is there information on what specific attachments are used, what movement to check the designs?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. So we only have one attachment shape. So it's a rectangle, and we either place it horizontal or vertical depending on the movement. So for example, if you're trying to close a space, you do them vertical so that the liners can grip and pull the teeth together, versus if you're doing extrusion and you're trying to pull a tooth down, we would put it horizontal so the plastic can pull the tooth down. So it does depend on the movement. You can send me an email, michelle@fullcontour.com, and I can kind of give you a description of when and why we use attachments and how they're placed. We try to avoid attachments unless they're absolutely necessary, just because patients are getting clear aligners to hide the fact that they're going through ortho treatment and attachments are visible on the teeth. But there are certain movements that require attachments, such as extrusion. If you're going to pull a tooth down, you have to have an attachment because teeth are slippery and plastic can't grab the teeth to pull them down. So an attachment would be required. I would say probably 30 to 40% of the cases that we treat need attachments. Interproximal reduction, or IPR, is definitely more common. That's like on 70% of our cases, or 80% of the cases need IPR to create room for the teeth to move. But for attachments, we don't have a whole attachment library with all these different shapes. The rectangular shape is actually really tried and true. It works, it helps the plastic grab the teeth. And so why make things complicated? We just stick with one shape.
No.
Again, my email is Michelle, MICHELLE @FullContour.com. If you think of a question after the fact and you're like, shoot, you can send me an email, give me a call. I'm here to support you guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. Have a great evening,
night.
day, or wherever you are. I think there's a bit of everywhere people coming from. So thank you so much for all of you joining. It was amazing to see all of you. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.